Elephants in underwear and unicycles? Oh my! Hi everyone, I'm Jacob, I'm the Cowhat Librarian, and I've got an interesting one tonight. It is This Book Can Read Your Mind by Suzannah, Lloyd, and Jacob Grant. And I picked this one off the display shelves at my public library, and I read it with my kids, and they quite enjoyed it, and so did I. It's one of what is getting to be a fairly crowded group of fourth wall breaking books, where a character speaks directly to the reader about his newest invention, this book, which can read your mind. The scientist points out it'll take a moment to focus, but that it will start materializing whatever the reader thinks of. So the reader better not think of anything silly like a pink elephant. Whoops. Of course, the reader will be thinking of that the minute the story calls for it. And it gets progressively weirder. The scientist pushes back, no, you're not supposed to think about pink elephants, which makes the reader think of course, multiple pink elephants. And that the reader shouldn't think of anything that would scare them away like a mouse, which the reader, of course, does. It continues in that vein with the antics ramping up and ramping up and ramping up to include elephants on unicycles, playing tubas, wearing underwear, and it just gets ridiculous. I really like that the machine that is ostensibly the book reading your mind and displaying it talks about the levels of silliness, and it starts at acceptable, moves into too silly, and then things like far from acceptable. It's really, really funny, especially if the person reading it aloud can keep control and keep a stern voice when speaking for the scientist. Then it comes across as really, really funny. Actually, it reminds me a lot of The Book with No Pictures by B.J. Novak, when you have someone serious reading the book in between the colorful nonsense words and sounds, where they're chastising the listeners for having chosen this ridiculous book and asking if they can stop yet. It's very, very reminiscent of that, except with pictures, of course. The art style, clear, colorful, pink overload. It's fun, it's fine, it's very clear what's going on. I wouldn't have minded the mouse being a little bigger and a little easier to see. Like a few other books I've talked about on here, this one, in my opinion, works a little bit better as a one-on-one or small group reading book rather than a storytime book, just because some of the smaller details would be hard to see at a distance. Anyway, it's a solid effort and it was fun. It was not perfect though. There are spoilers ahead because I have to talk about the deal breaker. The deal breaker is this. The basic premise of this book is that the scientist tells people not to think of things, and then they immediately think of it, and the book ostensibly shows what they're thinking of. It starts falling apart, in my opinion, partway through. Think of pink elephant, okay. Pink elephants, okay, a mouse, fine. But then thinking about a song and dance, and that translating as a can line from the elephants. I don't know about that. I don't know that that visual will be immediately apparent to some kids, especially ones who've grown up with Disney movie musicals and those song and dance numbers. I don't know that this would immediately be recognizable as a song and dance or represent what they were thinking of. Or when they start talking about silly underpants, okay, the illustration is kind of silly, but when you get right down to it, they're striped, they have hearts on them. There's not a lot that's especially silly about them, in my opinion. I've worn boxer shorts that are sillier than this. Or don't think of anything with the elephants and their behinds. I know what they were trying to get to, and when you turn to that page with the elephants farting, it's funny and the kids like it, but wasn't necessarily what they jumped to. I don't think it was. I think they were thinking the elephants would moon the reader by pulling down their boxers and pointing their bums towards them. or is shaking their bums doing a version of the Booty Scooty from Teen Titans Go or something similar. There's a point in this book where there is a disconnect between what I think the kids listening to it will be thinking and what's shown on the page, which is a shame because the first few pages are bang on. Still, my kids enjoyed it. They wanted me to read it again. I had fun reading it. The artwork is fine. The fourth wall breaking is fine. You know what? You could do a lot worse. Go borrow it from your local public library. While I'm on that topic, if you use and appreciate the services offered by your public library, why not take just 1 minute and tell the powers that be exactly that? Tell your mayor, tell a council member, tell your MP or MLA that you use and appreciate the services offered by your public library. We're at a time where a lot of libraries are having trouble finding sustainable funding to continue improving the services and programs and materials they offer to the public. And a few good words in the right ears might make a world of difference. If by some chance you're a library staff member, don't forget, watching my videos counts as professional development time. With that, thanks for listening to me talk about that one. And right now, I would like to encourage you to think of my video as something that can show what you're thinking of. So whatever you do, don't think about liking, don't think about subscribing, and don't think about checking back to see what else I have from the Cowhat Library. Thank you. Bye now.